Yes, we'll start.
So, this very strong position of Sela Pass, as it is known as, there were four huge temples with a pass coming the highest point of the Himalaya at that point, and it was held very strongly by a brigade. And the person in charge was a chap called Brigadier Hoshyar Singh, who was my instructor and teacher in the Indian Military Academy when he was a lieutenant colonel. I told you about him. He was a very soft-spoken, excellent English, but he's from the rank.
Okay.
And he had the IOM IDSM is given only Jawans by the British authority, Indian Order of Merit, and Defense Services Battle, which shows tremendous bravery in action. He had that. And we had so much regard for this man. He was in very strong positions.
Mm.
He got an order from his divisional commander, that's his boss, Anand Singh Patania. You will withdraw immediately. So he said, look here, I'm in a very strong position here. Why should I withdraw? He got the next message, if you don't withdraw, you'll be court-martialed.
Oh.
Now, we've been examining why this order was given.
Mm.
Why did Anand Singh Patania, who was such a fine officer and considered a top-class general, with so many awards, one is a major in battle, why would he give such an order to a brigade commander who said that he's perfectly capable of holding his position, right? Now, I just tell you something. You're in a prepared position, this cover on top, you've got machine gun laid out. Any enemy walking towards you and attacking towards you is going to buy it very heavily, right? You've got to fight it out. But if you get out of your trench and start going through the jungles in a haphazard manner, you're easy meat. For the enemy which is coming on the sides, who are out in the open, they know that you're running from there, so they go ahead of you through jungle trail, they ambush you, they kill you because you're outside. You're not in a defensive position. So even though the enemy was in much larger quantity, numbers, you have to stand and fight because the defensive position requires 5 to 6 times more enemy than if I am holding a, let us say, a position with 100 men, you require not less than 600 men to take me out from it. Because the power of the weapons and the protection of the soldiers who are firing them, where the rest are in the open. So he withdrew, and in his withdrawal, he was killed. So we don't know what really happened and what was his answer to his decision to withdraw. But the orders from his boss were clear that you'll be court-martialed if you don't withdraw. The next question is, this Anand Singh Patania, who was a very famous general and had built up his reputation till he became a general, a major general, lost all his reputation and became one of the bad guys of the army. This is Kismat. What happened? Many of us concluded that when things go wrong, when the whole thing starts collapsing around you, you lose your sense of proportion and you lose the sense of balance. You lose your power of thinking. You give orders in fear rather than in confidence. So there's a lesson here which I've tried to convey to you, which I have explained to many military commanders. When you fight, the Jawans are fighting, but you as a commander, you are not there to win a particular battle or not win a particular battle. You are there to make life so difficult for the enemy commander that he mentally collapses. I'll take you forward. I'm going to describe the 71 war later when we talk again. But in the 71 war, why did Yahya Khan, who was the president of Pakistan, collapse? He collapsed and gave up. Many of his people in West Pakistan, Punjab, fully capable of fighting on when East Pakistan was captured in a matter of 14 days by the Indian army. Right? The president of Pakistan collapsed. He would give no orders. I came to know exactly how he did what, because at that time his director of military operations was from my school, from RIMC. He's gone to Pakistan, a very fine officer. His name is Gul Hassan, much after retirement. when we visited Pakistan, and they allowed Pakistani officers, retired officers, to come and visit us for the Platinum Jubilee and Golden Jubilee and all that in the RIMC in Dehradun. I used to meet and talk, and we became good friends. He said I was the director of military operations, and we could get nothing out of the general headquarters of the president because he was controlling the military. We could get him. We got no orders. You were shouting at him to come give your orders. No orders. And he had a very nice singing lady called Malika Pakraj, and it's for the side issue, who to sing with him. He got involved in that. She was the singer for the Maharaja Hari Singh of Kashmir's court, Malika Pakraj. She sings extremely well. Tumris and ghazals and things like that. And now her daughter sings very well. We know them both. See? Because she was in India first. After partition, she went. Malika Sanam, the songstress of Pakistan. And Yahya Khan used to listen to her and indulge in, imagination while his country came to pieces. Anyway, they sacked him after that, so that was his fate. So what is the lesson here? The lesson that comes here, that if you destroy the will of the commander or the boss, whether it's a political boss or of the military boss, the whole system collapses. There are no orders. So in this case, not only did the defense minister having collapsed, so did the prime minister. He died a broken man 2 years later, right? But the slap on the face and the fact that the Krishna Menon was sacked, the defense minister, the government then looked around for a man who can hold this country together and a good military man to chief. So General J. N. Chaudhary of my regiment, 16th Cavalry, whom we had given a big party to. I told you last time that he died a heart attack. And he said that Prabhu Sanskar in Hoshiarpur. He told me I'm going to be the Senapati, and he's a bloody idiot because I'm not. I had a heart attack, I'm medically unfit. No question of my becoming the chief. He was the army command in Southern Army, Southern Command. He was told, please take over chief next day. He had to move by air and take over as the army chief. No matter his heart, right? Got the country together. And secondly, was Sam Manekshaw, who was under court martial because Krishna Menon didn't like him. He was suddenly restored. He was a major general who refused to accept what Krishna Menon said because he thought he was an idiot, which he was, right? So Congress party is very fond of him. So the statue of Krishna Menon outside Sena Bhavan and Army headquarters. And even my chief has to tell the defense minister that statue needs to be destroyed. It will blow up or something. But nobody has the guts to do that. Maybe in the future. So anyway, that man, Major General Manekshaw, who was under court martial, there was a court of inquiry going on against him for whatever means, is all false, to get rid of the man and to make sure that he's dismissed from the military, suddenly went and became a lieutenant general, one rank higher, took over 4 corps. And the first order that he gave there will be no withdrawal. So I, as a student in staff college, as a major, understood one thing, that the British taught you this art of withdrawal. Never will it be followed in India. But it took many years after that for us to learn that lesson, but I learned it as a major. You must not withdraw because, I explained this to you earlier, it's very logical. The Americans have got 2 huge oceans on either side with a very soft border with Canada. There's no military threat in the north. And there's a border, smaller border, much smaller border in the south with Mexico. Mexico is no military threat. Of course, a lot of refugees come across the so-called wall that has been constructed there. So there is no landward threat to America. America's threat can only come through the sea or from the air, right? Therefore, same with Britain. Britain has got the channel. As I told you last time, Julius Caesar of Rome, maybe 100 BC, crossed this channel and conquered the whole of Britain. Ran it for 6 or 7 years, about 6 centuries, I think, till the Roman Empire failed. After that, from Normandy, 1066 is the date. The king of Normandy, that's the western side of France, he crossed the channel and conquered that area of Britain and is the forerunner of the present royal family of Britain, the Plantagenets. Right? But Hitler, or rather Napoleon first, the Emperor of France, he couldn't arrange to cross the channel. Hitler later couldn't arrange to cross the channel, right? So they are maritime powers.
Right.
They protect by Navy and Air Force. They may go to other people's country to fight.
Right.
You think they withdraw. The question of withdrawal is just teaching to us. So whenever I became senior enough to have my orders obeyed, I removed that operation of war called withdrawal. I'll tell you about it later. I put this case up when I was an instructor in Staff College some years later.
Okay. Okay.
India cannot withdraw because this is your border. It's a land border. It's like the border between France and Germany, or between Germany and Poland, or between Poland and Russia, and now between Ukraine and Russia.
Right.
It's your country. If you withdraw, the enemy takes your villages, your towns, and murders your civilians.
Right.
If you're the government and the military protecting the civilians, you've got no business to run from there and let them die. You die there first. And Ukraine, by the way, Zelensky, though they have been really beaten back, in fact, they are standing and fighting. It's because their president has encouraged them to do so. He wears military fatigue and he stands there. So you can't let your territory go.
Right.
You have to fight to the last man in the last round, like my brother Som did.
Right.
Kashmir and got a Parmit Chakra. Right?
Yes.
So your ammunition finishes, you get murdered, but you cannot withdraw. This is a lesson that we learned from the 62 war after India received a slap on the face. And I think every system has its start, its lifetime, and its end. And Jawaharlal Nehru was a great prime minister. He did about 15 to 16 years as a prime minister. And his time had come, so he died a broken man, right? And everybody used to say, after Jawaharlal, who? Country has done badly. In fact, we've done better. In fact, I think country's advancement to a better nation, better control, with better defense, and a more concern about your territory being defended rather than just giving up, has started after 1962 war. So a sea change has taken place after the 62 war in our nation. Now, in Staff College, this lesson was learned by some, not by all, and certainly it was learned by me. And I used to be very hot on this subject. As I told you, I drank to chow and lie and to a toast for having taught India this lesson. Thank you. And I must tell you, people think rather poorly of the fact that India is in such a militarily, what shall I say, disadvantaged situation, where you have this huge undemarcated border in the north of the Chinese breathing down your neck, as it happens in Ladakh today, and in other places on the northern border. And you've got a very antagonistic Pakistan on your western border, who can't defeat you militarily because we've thrashed them in 2 wars. We've broken their country in half, but they can put terrorists and all that to have their own back, revenge. All right. But the fact is that if there is a huge attack from China in the north and also simultaneously attack from the west, yes, you've got a little problem on your hand and you have to deal with it.
Right.
And we will deal with it. There's no question. We're prepared for it. So that's it. And that lesson, you must be thankful to God for having given you 2 lovely enemies, the Chinese and the Pakistanis, to keep you alert, to keep you on your toes, to keep your brain functioning, to be ready to take action. rather than sit and pray.
Hmm.
Right? You can pray.
Hmm.
Normal praying. But that praying is to make yourself a better human being, not to stop you from fighting. Gita, the Gita is a soldier's book. It's telling the commander-in-chief of the Pandavas, Arjun, to stand up and fight. That's all it's saying.
True.
And saying, do your duty.
Hmm.
Right? So I wanted to spend a little time on the 62 war to explain how important that war is. It has many ramifications in future years, which I'll cover as we carry on with these meetings. Because this is not quite been explained the way I see it to the public. Because many things are kept secret, secret, secret. For
Right.
instance, a failure in the 62 war, there was a man called Major General Henderson Brooks. He, Lieutenant General Henderson Brooks, he had commanded 11 Corps in Jalandhar before General Chaudhary, right?
Okay.
So I knew him from there, right? Because my regiment was there and Kapurthala,
Right.
we were under him. Henderson Brooks finished his command and he was ordered by the subsequent government, which is after Jawaharlal Nehru, actually took over
Hmm.
as the prime minister. And the government ordered Henderson Brooks to examine the 1962 operations to draw lessons from it.
Okay.
He written a report, right? And he had to assist him at that time, a Brigadier P.S. Bhagat, a Brigadier Prem Singh Bhagat, who is a Victoria Cross and is from my school.
Okay.
I told you that he was the engineer officer who, in South African campaign, when he was a second lieutenant, cleared about 30 miles of German minefields, having been blown up 4 or 5 times in between, so that the 8th Army of the Allies, that's under General Montgomery, could advance against Romelov Desert, right? He got the Victoria Cross. So my school has produced the first Victoria Cross for an Indian in World War II, and the first Paramveer Chakra from my school is my brother Somnath, who got it for independent India, right? All right. So Prem Bhagat was a brigadier, very sharp in the head, very good officer. He's from the engineers. He was ordered to assist General Henderson Brooks in writing this report, and he's written the report. He and General Henderson went there to Northeast Frontier Agency, it was known, discussed with all the officers who had run, and discussed with everybody on the fight, why did you do this and why did you not do that, and all that sort of thing. Heard the whole story and wrote a report. Now, I must tell you, this has not been allowed to be published by the government of India, it's still not. But I have a good knowledge of what's written in that report. And basically, it shows you a total military failure and why that failure took place. Poor generalship, fearful generalship and leadership, no guts to stand and fight because of the collapse of the thinking mechanism, starting right from the prime minister and the defense minister downwards on the line. If your boss collapses in his thinking, everybody else collapses in his thinking, right? So this lesson is there. And yes, I think we wrote a lot of training instructions for the Indian military to correct some of these. They haven't been corrected. It takes time because new people come and you train them again, and they forget it. New people come, life goes on. There's a lot to do with luck. Maybe that I don't know if you think of luck at all. What is luck? This nation, which is so disparate, what has kept us together? I think we're a very lucky nation. I think I am a lucky man. I was very lucky to marry the girl I married. And she's a very lucky woman. Some Jyotish saw her hand and said, I wish I had married you before. When I saw you, before you got married to this general. She married only a captain. It's a combination of luck. Why are some people lucky? Some people are not lucky.
Right.
Why?
I wish somebody knew this.
Well, I've got ideas.
Okay.
I think generally you're lucky if you have reached a position, according to our lifetime theories of Vedanta, many lives. There are people who get the luck from the date of their birth. I was very lucky to be born in my family. Right? I think everyone who's born in this family is very lucky because the family is lucky. Why is it lucky? Because we'll go back centuries into our forebears. They've all been very staunch, straight thinking human beings. Now, just for example, I married Swarupi. Now, she's not a Brahmin like us, so many of my relatives were quite disgusted with the fact that I did that, but I made up my mind because I appreciated the person. I mean, there's no such thing as love at first sight and all that's all American baloney, right? And Bollywood and Hollywood and all that, they say, you have to assess the type of partner you want. You have to be staunch enough to say, I'm not going to get any partner at all unless my partner is of the standard that I expect, right? How do you assess that? It's, of course, first time see you get an idea. Now, we in the cavalry have got some ideas of this. I'll share it with you. How do you know this is a good horse or not so good horse? I told you once, there's a Garib Ghoda which doesn't move, and this is a Tez Ghoda who moves. Garib Ghoda, you sit on the back and you keep taking it, and he sort of looks at you and says, all right, tomorrow. The Tez Ghoda, you sit on it, you kick him once, he won't stop running. I told you the cavalry saying, how to inspect a horse? Listen, why I mention a horse is because firstly, I've dealt a lot with horses when I was a young man, because I have joined the cavalry. And in Ahmednagar, when you were training, we eventually had to do an exercise of 40 miles, which would be what, about 70 kilometers, right? On horseback to do map reading. So you have to train for that. You've got to know your horse. And when you get to know your horse, and the horse gets to know you, and there's some appreciation here. He's the most loyal friend in the world. He's such a noble animal. He'll give his life for you if you treat him well, right? So when you ride the horse, I told you there's a bit. You never pull the bit. It's pain in the ear, and he doesn't like you for that. You have to control him by the slightest indication, and he follows you exactly if he likes you. If he doesn't like you, shrugs his shoulders, stands on his hind legs, and tries to drop, right? So when you appreciate a good horse, you have to see how he stands. What is the color of his skin? Right? What is the sparkle in his eye? How does he look at you? Does he stand tall, self-pride, or is he morose? You can see that in any human being. If you're selecting a partner for life, you have to examine what sort of a person is this. You don't require anything else but this. Is it up to my standard or not up to my standard? Not up to your standard. Up to your standard, okay, right? Love comes later. It will last for a lifetime. No question of leeway. Our Shastras say, and your marriage ceremonies say in every religion, it's for life. Why then do you change? Because you are slave to your desires. You have to control your desires. You have to control your five senses. Happiness and peace comes with control of the mind. Now, when you look at the fight in Ukraine, you don't see much of this. Neither in the great leadership of the West, nor of the East, nor in Ukraine itself. Everybody's wanting to murder somebody for the sake of gain of territory or area, fighting missiles, kill. Human beings are evil. They love to kill. Animals don't do this. An animal will only kill if he wants to eat. That's his food. Otherwise, he's good friends. I told you that a lion or a tiger will never kill a child. Never. He keep away. Everybody respects a child because it's the future of life. This world has to live. And therefore, life must not be destroyed. You destroy one life, it changes the whole world, right? Okay, these are our theories. This is written in Vedanta. I'm not saying something new, which it's taught, but people don't follow it. Why don't you follow it? Now, what is luck? If you follow these principles, you've kept yourself physically fit and you made yourself mentally peaceful. Correct. You have a vibration. I became a great friend of the Karmapa Lama. They don't think much of the Dalai Lama because the Dalai Lama is a temporal and religious head.
Okay.
So he got politics. And Karmapa Lama a separate sect of Tibetan Buddhism. He used to say that anybody who plays politics is evil, because politics means that he has to do something for his country and his people, and he does also the dignity to do that.
Right.
He says, if you are pure in your mind, there's no politics. You can't be a politician, it's very difficult to be pure in your mind. Right? So, all right. So he used to say, I don't have much respect for the Dalai Lama.
Okay.
That's karma.
Hmm.
And he used to say that every human being has got an aura, which he can't see, but every persons who have meditated a lot, they can see this aura.
Okay.
And actually, you instinctively, when you meet a person for the first time,
Hmm.
your instinct is seeing the aura, you are not seeing it.
Ah.
So you straight away either like somebody or you don't like them.
Right.
Or you want to get close to someone and you say, oh, that's okay, but I don't want to get too close.
Hmm.
Some of my friends, or so-called friends, in the army, we have everybody's a friend. You should visit the house. My wife used to say, don't call that person again. I don't feel happy.
Hmm.
Simple. This is sixth sense. Women have it more perhaps than men because, men get up and go do it. Women are security conscious and they're also conscious of the other human being. They are mothers. They are bringing up life. They are creators.
Hmm.
Viewpoint on this, which will do a man a world of good to hear what that is so that he can come to a decision.
Right.
When in College of Combat, I was commanding, I was a lieutenant general then, and these young men used to come with their wives. Rupi and I used to run tutorials with husband and wife, give them problems, which is military plus social.
Right.
Not only command your troops, but how to get on with people who are not wanting to be get on with, it happens. And your superiors who sometimes are very good, sometimes they're not. You have to be, it's easy to get on with a good leader and a good commander.
Right.
Very easy. It's not easy to get on with something as a bloody idiot. See? So unfortunately, in my case, I don't know how I reached this rank, because if I found that a senior person was not up to my standard, I didn't mind saying so.
Hmm.
Sometimes not very politely. I'll tell you more about this later as the story goes on. But still, it must be luck that one went up in life despite many superior commanders getting fed up of the fellow who answers back.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
We like somebody to answer back. But you answer back to that person who is not pure in heart, not pure in vision, and not pure in action.
Hmm.
If you can discern that, provided you yourself
Hmm.
maintain that standard. And my father did that. And I'm very happy to say my brothers did that.
Hmm.
My sisters did that. So I probably inherited that or acquired it, whatever the reason. What is greatness? Some people say that some people are born great. This is an old saying.
Hmm.
Some people achieve greatness because of their actions.
Hmm.
Some people have greatness thrust upon them.
Right.
You take Narendra Modi,
Yeah.
who had gone on Banvas and he studied in the hills, and he was just a pracharak of the RSS.
Right.
He was selected by Mohan Bhagwat, the boss of the RSS,
Hmm.
to say that he will be the next chief minister of Gujarat in case the BJP wins the election, which they did. And he
Hmm.
became the chief minister of Gujarat. He never wanted it. He never thought himself perhaps fit to be it.
Hmm.
That greatness was thrust on him, but then he rose to the occasion so well. For 15 years, he ran that state and made it one of the best in India. And now he's in his second term as our prime minister, trying to raise us up by the bootstraps. The naysayers will keep saying nay. But when a man is playing correct, when he is mentally, spiritually, and physically correct, he's lucky. Therefore, the naysayers fall by the wayside.
Hmm.
I told you that there was an Admiral Nair of the Navy, great friend of mine, about 6 years senior to me, retired the Vice Chief of the Navy Staff. And he was so keen on making peace between Pakistan and India and others. He had a second track diplomacy and all that. He was in charge of it. Nimrana group and all that you hear about.
Hmm.
And visited all our front lines as a Navy officer, never been to Ladakh, and I arranged that for him. I was a major, retired vice admiral. I asked him when Modi spoke on Buddhism and a think tank that you are a member of. I said, what do you think of this man? He said, भगवान ने फरिश्ता भेजा है,
Oh.
इसके सामने जो खड़ा होगा उसको रोकने के लिए वो गिर जाए. So in the military, we do try and train officers to be discerning people in their command to see who should be promoted, who should not be promoted. So true to yourself and true to your behavior, you are looking very carefully at your subordinates. Are they fit or not fit to reach a higher level of command? Because the higher you go in command, the more lives are at your
Right.
the more people you get killed if you don't behave correctly. Speaking of generalship, I'll give you an old saying. That general is the best who can win his battle without firing a shot. By maneuver or by creating circumstances where the enemy is not prepared to take you on.
Right.
Best. The next general who is very good is who achieves his objective by minimum killing mostly of the enemy. Right? But a general who kills hundreds of your own troops, he is no general. And hundreds of the enemy for no rhyme or reason, he is no. You see, the conflict in Ukraine, I don't think much of the generalship on either side. You're just murdering human beings. Women and children are running out of the countryside. Come on. That's not to deal. And also the hate campaign. No, you hate people. You know, Western countries, they want to hate the enemy. In India, we tell all our troops, I've told you all of this before, you must not hate your enemy. This is one of the 10 commandments that Moses brought. This is the Old Testament of the Bible.
Right.
Baba Musa, the Muslims believe in it, the Jews believe in it, the Christians believe in it. Why the hell don't you follow it? Love thy enemy as thyself. Now, come on. They hated the Japanese during the war, now they're the best of friends. So what would they hate for? He is fighting for his country the way his politics is functioning. You're fighting for your country the way your politics is. Why are you hating each other? It's the politician who is creating the fight, not the military. Right? So therefore, who is lucky? When the Chinese gave us the slap in 62, I told you that I'd gone down with my wife on a Sunday to Konoor before those hundreds of women handing over gold. Why? Because some joker called Nehru who says I have to build this army. So India came together like a fist in 62 because of the defeat. If that defeat had not been there, we were like that. Strength is like that, not like that. This is the strength. So, why are you lucky? Please consider. And I think those born in this land are very lucky. Very, very lucky. Because this land is lucky. Why is it lucky? A lot of spiritualism here. Not by you and me, perhaps, but by many others who went before us. It creates an atmosphere which every child in the street understands. Everyone in the street who is fighting and throwing stones will understand when we talk about this.
Right.
See? So that's that. Now that 62 war, I think we talked about it quite a lot, but that was my best takeaway from my staff college as a student. I learned a lot of things. I was only a major. Who listens to a major? You have to reach a higher rank before somebody even cares to listen to what was said. That takes time and effort. And so we'll do that also. Now, next subject I want to talk to you about is the art of driving a car, which I have to teach my wife. So we don't know if we have time, but we'll carry on next time in case we have to close.
Yes.
So what we do is, you see, I bought this car for 12,000 rupees, Fiat, with 4 doors, Fiat 1100, lovely car. It's the first model with 4 doors and a little dicky at the back. The thing was that the back seat would come down and there was a hood space at the back.
Right.
I like this car. I bought this in Jalandhar when I was a squadron commander major in my regiment in 16 Cavalry in Kapurthala. And I must tell you one or two stories about this. I didn't have the money to buy the car. It was 12,000 bucks. You know, a major didn't have any money in those days. We are very poorly paid. We are better off now, but we are very poorly paid. So I had to take a loan. The government was offering loans. We had to make a report and apply to the command headquarters, the Lieutenant General's command, which was in Shimla in those days. We were in Kapurthala. So I went to my commanding officer and said, look, I want a loan to buy the car. He said, fine, you fill up the form. And he countersigned it, very good. And we sent it up. It went up by the brigade. It went up through the corps. It reached the headquarters in Shimla. Back came an answer, no loan for Major Sharma. So then I went to the CO that I want to complain. What do you mean? What wrong have I done that I'm not getting the loan which the government is authorized?
Yeah.
If we don't know, there's a chap called Brigadier Virender Singh from the regiment, 15th Cavalry, who is an officer responsible as a staff officer in Shimla, at the command headquarters, who has said this no. So, well, I'll connect you to him because I know him very well.
Yeah.
He commanded my regiment, right? When I was a younger man. So he rang up, he says, General Biru, Brigadier Biru, please talk to T. Sharma. He said, all right, put him on. I said, sir, this is Major Sharma speaking. Why have you disallowed my loan?
Hmm.
He said, you'll only get your loan if you contribute something to the Cheshire Homes in Delhi.
Oh.
I said, what is the Cheshire Homes? He said, these are the paraplegics started by Lord Cheshire of Britain, who is a group captain of the Air Force, Royal Air Force. I'll tell you, have I told you the story? I don't know. I'll tell you this. So it looks after those who are injured in battle and who are paraplegic. So we need contributions because we can't run it on our own with the money. So you pay something. That's what we have to pay. He said, but we like to pay, but we give you a bank statement that every month this will be cut from your salary and automatically to show. I said, okay, done. That's done. He said, you done? You're going to sign it? Huh? Okay, I'll sanction your loan. So I got the loan to buy the car. Next question was that I was going to the staff college, all right? And earlier than that, I was going to Pune for a short science course. I wanted to take my wife with me. And I told her, you must learn how to drive. She said, okay, I'll learn how to drive. It's very difficult to teach a wife how to drive a car, Slightly thing goes wrong, you start shouting, and she doesn't like that shouting. She doesn't accept shouting from anyone. So I noticed there was another officer called Dandekar, V.K. Dandekar. We used to call him Dandy. Dandekar is a Maharashtrian, right? He was a top cricketer. He was an opening batsman for India when playing cricket with Pakistan, right? In the old days. He was the captain in Kapurthala. I was a major. He was living near me. And he had also bought a Fiat car, a similar type. Mine was black, his was white in color. So in Kapurthala Road, while I was driving on trying to teach my wife, shouting at her, I used to find him driving to teach his wife Indira Dandekar. She's a Punjabi. He's trying to teach her drive shouting. So in the officer's mess, I told him about a drink of whiskey. I said, look here, I see you driving past on those roads in Kapurthala trying to teach your wife and you're shouting at her all the time. He said, come off it. You're also shouting at your wife all the time. I said, what you do is, I take your car and your wife and teach her to drive. You take my car and my wife. So that works. Because if you're taking somebody else's wife, you're all present. So these girls learned a bit of the art of driving. Now, when I landed up in Wellington, it's a hill, Nilgiri Hills. I mean, Wellington is about 7,500 feet. Winding road, then we had a house very far away in Maranur. Till I got a better house. So to take my wife out driving and shout and scream at her and all that because also some mistakes. Suppose there's a bend on the road. Now you tell her, look, there's a bend on the road coming here. Keep to the left of the road. And a truck might come from the other side, okay? So then after the truck, your foot is on the accelerator. Take a foot off the accelerator and press the brake, okay? Yes. So suddenly a truck appears on the other side of the road. And she presses the foot, but it's still on the accelerator. So the car jumps forward. And here